I still remember the day we posted our first video and we got our first comment, which was from you. And I literally stopped and called my husband. I was like, babe, we have our first comment. And I was like, it's from this guy named Kipp. And he's like, wait, Kipp?
Yeah.
I was like, who's Kipp?
Welcome, Kipp. It's so glad to finally talk to you and see you and have you on our channel.
It's good to be here. I appreciate it.
We really appreciate you supporting us from the beginning, and we're just very thankful and blessed to have you as a friend.
That's really cool. I mean, that's part of it is like not just finding the big channels like the doctors and everything, but like finding other small creators like myself and trying to encourage them because they can spread the message to other people. So I try to find smaller channels as much as I can and try to encourage them and help them along the way, because you never know, one day they may be a massive channel and reaching a lot of people because you encouraged them along the way.
You a little bit inspired me to think, we're starting this journey, we might as well just start documenting it. And then I came home, I think the next day, and said, hey, why don't we just start like recording YouTube videos, and documenting our journey.
You were a big inspiration of why we even started YouTube and why we started Carnivore. So it's just so exciting to have you.
That's awesome. I'm actually humbled by that. It means a lot to me that me talking with y'all and everything and commenting to y'all impacted y'all to go ahead and start your channel, because we can reach a lot of people. I know how like Dr. Barry and them always talk about the grassroots movement. And they talk about, it's not going to be some big corporation that tells everyone. It's going to be all of us smaller channels and things like that. So I think it's really cool. And I'm glad that y'all decided to start a channel, because I think we started around similar times, actually, because my channel had to have been just getting going around that same time. So y'all have encouraged me too. I mean, I've told my wife for a long time, like, hey, there's this channel I watch called Carnivore Couple, and I love watching their channel. And because a lot of times it's not a lot of channels, it's one solo person or it's not a couple. And so it's cool that both of y'all are on the journey together and having success together, because a lot of times it's just one. Like for my household, it's just me, and I'm hopeful that one day my wife will decide to test this thing out also.
And we find it actually a little easier to do it together because we're in the same house and we hold each other accountable. So we're kind of like in the trenches together, so it definitely helps. And hopefully one day your wife will join you on the journey. But let's go ahead and start
asking about your journey, because you've had an amazing journey so far. So like, why did you start Carnivore? Like, how did you hear about it? And then how much weight have you lost so far?
Well, I had been hearing about it from Dr. Barry multiple times, because I had done keto multiple times in the past. And I used to watch Thomas DeLauer a lot. And I used to watch Dr. Berg all the time. And I still have a tremendous amount of respect for both of them. But I was watching them, and then I found Dr. Barry. And the more I kept watching him, I kind of connected with him some, because like he's from the South and I'm from the South. We talk a lot alike. So I was like, I really like this guy. And so then I kept putting off carnivore for a long time. But when I was doing keto, I kept having issues with, the different snacks and things like that. And, I got to thinking, well, if I do carnivore, that pretty much eliminates all that stuff. So, I mean, if I want a snack, I'm going to have boiled eggs or something like that, or like jerky. I decided in January, after my daughter was born, because she was actually born the February before that. And that whole first year of her being born was like a transitional period for me and my wife. It was our first child. We had been praying for her for years. And God finally answered that prayer. And so after she was born, after that transitional period of just eating whatever food we could to survive, and then getting through the holidays, our first holidays as a family, then I was like, I have got to do something. And my mind kept going back to carnivore. You need to try carnivore. And I had seen people like Joe Rogan and all them talk about it as well, and Jordan Peterson. And so I decided to give it a shot, like the day after New Year's, and started. And ever since then, the rest is history. I mean, so many things have gotten better in my life, and I've lost 80 pounds.
Wow.
And because
That's amazing.
I was right at 500 pounds at my highest. I was like 492. And then,
Mhm.
but when I started, I was 486 pounds. And right now I'm 406 pounds. And it's just
Okay.
been amazing.
That's amazing, and congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. 80 pounds. I know you have a lot more, but still,
Thank
that's
you.
something to be really celebrated.
That's more
Yeah.
than
Oh, yes.
almost more than we've lost together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
awesome.
incredible.
But I have a
And
lot more to lose than both of y'all do as well.
yeah, it's funny you mentioned the trying to survive after having a newborn, and we can totally
We
relate
can
to that.
totally relate.
'Cause, yeah, our son was born September 2021.
Yeah.
He was a preemie, so we had a lot of sleepless
Mhm.
nights, and he's trying to survive, and that same kind of deal. We had
Yeah.
that aha moment. We need to do something to improve our health for
Yeah.
our family, and that's kind of what we decided to start doing carnivore. So
So why did you
Awesome.
try the carnivore diet over like going back to keto or even trying a different diet? Was it just because you thought the restriction and the elimination would be really helpful for you? Why did you think carnivore was going to be the winner for you?
Honestly, I was kind of scared that if I did keto again, I would get the
Mhm.
same results that I had gotten multiple times
Yeah.
in the past, because I had done keto for a month and dropped off, done it for 2 months and dropped off, and every time I would gain the weight back. And
Mhm.
I love the way I felt on keto, so I was like, I know that I want to be low carb,
Uh-huh.
but I need to try something a little different. And at first I was like, I'm just going to do it for like a month and just see what happens.
Mhm.
And then after a couple weeks, I was sitting there with my wife and I was just like, I don't think I'm going to just do this for a month. Like, I might
Yeah.
be doing this
mhm,
for a long time. And then
Mhm.
after a couple months in, family members kept asking about it, like, man, how long are you going to do this? Because family, a lot of people thinks that this is crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
just tell them, like, I could see myself doing this the rest of my life unless I
Uh-huh.
find something better. Like, I don't see the reason to stop doing this.
Did your wife think you were crazy when you told her about what you were going to do?
A little, like, she tried to be so supportive. She's
Mhm.
a lot more supportive now than what she was then,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but at first she was, like, a little hesitant because she's always heard about, like, cholesterol
Yeah.
and blood pressure and things like that, and she kept worrying that, like, "Well, what about vitamins that you're gonna miss out with the meat
Mhm.
or whatever? What about the vitamins and your fiber and stuff?" And I kept telling her, I was like, "Look, all these doctors, because there's a bunch of doctors on here that talk about it, they all
Mhm.
say everything is going to be fine. So I'm just going to give it a shot."
Yeah.
And I gave it a shot, and I'm so thankful for that.
That's awesome.
And so you mentioned when you tried keto that you kind of did it for a little bit and you came off and did it for a little bit and came off. So why do you think that the carnivore diet has been more sustainable for you? Do you think having the YouTube channel around it has helped a lot, or do you think it's more so just like the carnivore diet has been easier for you to stick to?
I I personally think that it's both things. I think that the YouTube channel, of course, helps to keep me accountable,
Mhm.
but I was a month into carnivore, or maybe 2 months before I shot my first video. I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
I was a month or a month and a half in before I shot my first video, and I was actually scared to even turn the camera on, but I had so much, the results were so great that I had to share this with other people. I was like,
Mhm.
"You're gonna fight your fears and you're gonna turn this camera on," even though I didn't know nothing about editing. I'd never did videos before, and so I had to.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I started documenting it, and then whenever people started commenting, that helped me with staying on track and staying encouraged, because y'all know this community is super positive minded and they're
Mhm.
all encouraging and everything.
Oh
You're
yeah.
going to get a couple people that try to spoil the party, but for the most part everybody's loving and caring. But then
Yeah.
besides that, um just the reason I didn't another reason I didn't want to go back to keto was because I had, like, with me failing so many times, I was like, what if what if there's something to what these doctors are saying about, the different artificial sweeteners that are in the keto snacks, and how in keto a lot of people, they count like carbs and net carbs and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But whenever you go to carnivore, you don't even have to think about that stuff. You just wake up and you think, well, if I'm hungry, I'm going to have some eggs, or I'm going to have a ribeye or chuck roast or something like that. And it
Yeah.
takes all that math out of the equation. I never have to think about stuff like that anymore. And so that, taking those sweets out completely, all the artificial stuff. I don't even have Splenda. I don't have Sweet and Low like some people. Taking all that stuff out, I think it helped my hunger cravings and helped me, because now when I get hungry, it feels different than it used to. It used to be more like the hunger was more intense, and like, man, you better eat. But now hunger is totally different, and I can go all day long if I want to, and then just be like, okay, you should probably eat something for supper.
Are you doing any fasting?
I don't do like prolonged fasting. I may eventually try. I mean, I think fasting is a good thing. I think it's good for you.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I just haven't been ready to do it. It's kind of been one of those things that I've been keeping in my back pocket, because whenever I get to stalls that I can't get past or anything like that, I might trick my body and sling a good fast on it. But for right now, my version of fasting is just eating 2 meals a day, because if I eat my first meal like around 11:30 in the morning, or 12 lunchtime, then I've had throughout that whole night of fasting while I was asleep, and then all that morning and everything. So I'm probably getting 18 hours of fasting in every day if I do that.
Yeah.
But I haven't been doing anything crazy. Maybe one day.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We're both at 2 meals a day. We fast breakfast, so it's definitely helped to help accelerate weight loss, but also you don't really feel hungry until lunch anyways, and it's not good to eat when you're not hungry on carnivore diet. You mentioned you weighed about 500 pounds before this all started. What was like the events leading up to, or what was that moment, the aha moment, when that led you to make a change in the way you eat?
I think the thing that broke it for me was I had struggled with weight my whole life, and it had always been just me, and then it was me and my wife. But once my daughter was born, as she started getting bigger, going through the infant stage and getting closer to being a toddler, she started getting heavier. And I was already almost 500 pounds. So whenever I would try to lay her down in her crib at night, that was extremely hard for me to do. Or to pick her up in the morning out of her crib was really, really hard to do. And whenever I would be rocking her in her little, I forget what it's called, the little lounge chair in her room in her nursery, I would be rocking her in there, and then I couldn't even hardly get up out of the chair to go put her in her crib. And as a father, that's hard to deal with whenever you're holding your daughter and you can't even hardly get up. It's taking everything that you can do to even get up out of this chair to put her in bed at night. And I kept telling myself, if you're having this many problems now, just wait till she's even heavier. Wait till she's 40 or 50 pounds or 60 pounds. You're not going to be able to do this stuff. So I had to just right then, I just had to say, okay, I've got to change.
And I like how you said it was your daughter. For us, it's our son too. And I think, having a motivating factor and a why that's outside of yourself, that's not just for weight loss, but something that's really important to you, is really helpful to help you actually make the change. Because, like you, I've tried keto and other diets before, but I never really sat down to think about my why as much as I have now. And so I can definitely relate to needing to get healthy to be there for your children.
Yeah, because you start to think about things like, If you're struggling, if I'm struggling that much now, I can't imagine what I'll be struggling like in 10 years. Not only for myself, but like the position I'll put my family in. I don't want them to have to take care of me and go get me food while I'm laying on a couch somewhere and have to take care. I mean, it'd be one thing if I was 85 years old, but I mean, if I'm 35, 40, 45 years old, they shouldn't be having to fix my food and bring it to me and help me take a bath and things like that. And it didn't get to that point, but the way I felt at 29, I knew if I kept on doing what I was doing, because every year I would gain weight. Like I mean, I remember when I was in college, I was like 400 pounds or something like that, and then I slowly went up to like 422 pounds, 450, 470. And I mean, there were times in keto where I would lose 30 pounds or 40 pounds and gain it back. And then one time I lost like 60 or 70 pounds and then gained it back. And then, you know, since I've started carnivore, I mean, yes, I haven't lost a whole lot more than that, but my mindset is different. And I feel even better than I did when I did keto. And when I did keto, I used to think about those sweets a lot and think about those different treats and everything. I used to love Rebel ice cream. And I used to think about that stuff all the time. Whereas now I can pass by that stuff in the store and it doesn't faze me at all.
I can relate to that because we had tried keto about a year and a half ago, and I know for me, I'm a sweets. That my thing is sweets, candy, ice cream, anything sugary, right? That's my like weekend.
And I had to listen to him eating bags of candy in bed every night. Yeah, so I think that's the greatest thing I don't have to listen to anymore.
but I know that with the Rebel ice cream or any like fake sweets or stuff like that, it made it worse. Like made you just want the real sugar more, and it was it's almost like you're feeding in the cravings, but not really. And it was just that's why this way of eating is so much better because you're just eliminating it all to help you get over that addiction.
So you've mentioned the weight loss that you've had. What other improvements have you felt physically, but then also mentally?
There's a lot, and I probably will miss things because I can't remember everything unless I have it wrote down. But I would say I'll start with the biggest thing. The biggest thing, the biggest improvement at all that I have experienced physically is the pain in my right shoulder that had bothered me for 3 or 4 years bad. And I had been to orthopedic specialists. I had went to physical therapy over that shoulder. And I had, and they had said that my shoulder was like stuff inside of it was deteriorating, and I had bone spurs in it, and I had arthritis in it, and all kind of different stuff. And like I was basically bone to bone in that shoulder, and it hurt bad, and I would take stuff for it all the time, all kind of different medicine. And about 2 weeks after I started carnivore, my shoulder stopped hurting, and
That's awesome.
whenever it stopped hurting, that's probably around the same time that I told my wife that, hey, I think I'm going to keep doing this. Because I mean, that alone, if everything else stayed the same and my shoulder didn't hurt, it would have been worth it, because the shoulder pain a lot of times was severe pain. And like there were times I couldn't even pick my arm up at work to hardly type on the computer. And I would have to take PTO off of work and rest my shoulder for a few days to go, or for at least a day, to be able to go back to work and do my job. And then once I started and that pain went away, I haven't looked back with that since. And then I used to have to take Tums all the time because of different food that I would eat. And it would cause like indigestion or whatever. And like I would be laying in bed and stuff would come up. And then I went to the doctors and they prescribed me. I looked up what it was called. It started with an E. I don't remember, E something for it's kind of like stronger form of Tums or something to help with
like
acid
reflux or
reflux.
something like that.
Something like that. Yes. And I would take that and it would help, but that's not, the human body shouldn't need something like that to live a normal, healthy life. And so when I started carnivore, that all that stuff I didn't have to take. I don't have to take Tums anymore. It pretty much all that stuff went away. I mean, I haven't had a Tums in probably 6 months or probably close to 6 months since I started.
That's
Because I
awesome.
started about 5.5 months ago, and I
Yeah.
haven't took any Tums at all. And there, gosh, there's just so many things to think of that have gotten better since I started, and I'll probably miss things, y'all.
I hear you, and you actually watched your video today.
That was a great video. If
Yeah.
y'all haven't seen this video, I'll pop it
The
up.
sarcasm was awesome. But I remember you talked
Yeah.
about you would take Tums before you'd even eat dinner, like pizza or whatever, because you knew you'd be having some heartburn. And I can relate to that because I would get severe heartburn probably like once a month before I started carnivore diet, and I haven't taken any Tums in at least 2 months, you know. So that's improved for me too.
So your name is Carnivore Kipp and
Barbecue and cast iron.
Barbecue and
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so like how long have you been cooking barbecue?
Probably a decade. I got into it whenever I was let's see, I'm 30 now. I got into it when I was probably around 21, maybe 21, 22. So it's probably been like 9 years. Basically, when me and my wife got together, like we whenever we bought a house, that's the thing that I told her I wanted whenever we got in the house. I was like, man, a man needs to know how to grill. So I got me a little grill at Walmart. And thankfully I had an awesome coworker that I worked with for years that he's actually like a barbecue pit master, and like he's won all kind of competitions and all kind of stuff. So he showed me a lot and kind of got me into barbecue, and that's how it all started and how I learned so much. And then I've just connected with so many different people from the barbecue world, and that are other people that are in cooking competitions and smoker builders and things like that. So it's a community kind of like the carnivore community. There's a whole community out there of Facebook groups of like barbecue people that are like seriously into it, and that's how it all got started for me.
Yeah, I know. For me, I'm from Florida, so I'm from the South like you, and we love our barbecue in the South, you know.
Oh,
And then trying to make it without sugar.
Yeah, so I in Florida and anywhere in the South really, it's easy to find good, decent barbecue to eat. But then when we moved over here to the Midwest, it's hard to find good barbecue. So
we had good steak.
Yeah.
Not good barbecue.
So a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I bet I can make better barbecue than I can find anywhere in the restaurant here. So I went and bought me a pellet smoker, and I ain't looked back since. So
yeah. But see, the good thing is you could just open up your restaurant then, since nobody knows how to cook barbecue up there. And I see, I would do great if I moved up there, because up there ain't no competition. So if I made barbecue up there, it would blow people's minds.
We would come every weekend.
Yeah.
Especially if you offered like sugar-free options, because you can't find that anywhere in a restaurant.
And that's been something adjustment for us when we do barbecue. I have to make it sugar-free, you know.
That was a huge adjustment for me as well.
Yeah. What is your favorite meat or thing to smoke?
It depends on the day, but 90% of the time it would be dino ribs. I love dino ribs. I call them, and not just me, in the barbecue world, it's called brisket on a bone. If you like brisket, you will like dino ribs, because they have a similar taste, but there's 3 huge bones. And so basically a serving would be when you just split the bones into thirds. I mean, each person's only going to eat the meat off of one bone because they're so big. They're usually like 6 or 7 pounds, and it's only 3 bones, so they're massive.
Yeah.
And I just love the flavor of those. I like a lot of other cuts as well, like picanha. I like tri-tip. I mean, the list is long of things I like. I really love hanger steak, the different cuts that people don't think about. But I mean, who's going to turn down a good ribeye as well, right?
Yeah. Speaking of ribeyes, what's your favorite way to cook a ribeye?
I really like a reverse seared ribeye. I like to let it go low and slow for a while, and then once it gets up to like 115, sometimes 120, then take it off the heat, take it off that, and put it straight over a good hot fire and put a good sear on both sides.
So I've heard about this from Joe Rogan and a few other people. Like, so what temperature are you smoking that ribeye at?
as long as it's under 275 or 275 or below, it'll be good smoking temperature. You don't want, like, if you're smoking big meats like a brisket or a pork butt, you can run your smoker a little bit hotter, and it would still smoke because it's going to be in there for hours. But if it's something like a steak, it's a smaller piece of meat. So if you have your pit temp too high, then it won't have enough time to take on smoke flavor before the meat's done. Because you want that good smoke flavor. So I would say no more than 275, but you could even do 225 to 250, and to get the most amount of smoke on that steak before you sear it. And a lot of times I'll use like my kettle grill that way, or one of my, because I got 2 kettle grills. I'll use one of those, and on one side I'll have the fire, and on the other side I'll have the meat. And so I'll let it go low and slow for maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, until it gets at the temp that I want to sear from. And then all I have to do is pick up the piece of meat and throw it on the coals to sear it.
That sounds wonderful, and I'm nodding my head, but I have absolutely no idea what half these words are.
I know what you're talking about. It's all good.
Kettle grill. I need to watch your videos, Kipp.
Yes, you do.
You have like a barbecue beginner 101.
I was too. I honestly, as much as I've learned from people in the real world, okay, the most that I've learned about barbecue is just by trial and error, by doing it myself. But second to that would be watching YouTube videos over the years. Because you know how we all binge watch carnivore videos? I used to binge watch barbecue videos just like that. And I still watch a lot of barbecue videos. Like if one of my favorite channels posts a video, I'm finna watch it. But that's how you learn a lot, watching and learning and things like that. So anybody can learn it.
Yeah. So what I need to do is watch your video, and then he comes home from work Friday, and I've been smoking up a pork butt.
Yeah, you need to do that. That would put him in shock.
The first pork butt I made was actually like a couple months ago, and I learned how to do it from you and one other person on YouTube. I don't remember who the other channel was, but I watched your video on it. So. And it turned out really good.
Yeah, pork butt is a really good option, especially if you're a newbie. I hate to say it like that, but if you're a newbie, it's a really great. That would be the first thing I would recommend somebody that don't know much about barbecue, because there's so much fat inside of a pork butt that even if you don't have because what makes good barbecue is a good consistent temperature throughout the cook. You don't want like 350 and then 250 and 350 and 250. You want constant heat, and that's what helps make good barbecue. And so pork butt is very forgiving if your temperatures are all over the place, because there's so much fat inside of it that it's hard to dry it out. Whereas if you start with a brisket and you don't know what you're doing, you can mess up $100 brisket or $80 brisket in no time.
Thanks for saving me $100. I'll go with the pork butt. For
sure. So you had mentioned that before that you started YouTube because you want to just tell people about it. Is there any other reasons why you decided to start this journey on YouTube and just document everything?
Well, when I had done keto before, I had thought that if I started a YouTube channel, that maybe that would help me with accountability, because I had tried keto. Man, there was times when I did keto where like I would be on keto one week and off the next, and then the next week I'd be on, and then the next week I'd be off. And back to when you were talking about Rebel ice cream earlier, there were times that I would get my Rebel ice cream one day, and then the next day I'd go get real ice cream. So there was a lot of back and forth. And then so I was like a month into carnivore, and I was like, I just need to do it. I just need to film this. That way, if somebody reads it, they'll know what I'm doing. And then if they comment and then they're expecting another video, it might help me to, because once you do that first video, you're thinking about that second video, and you don't want to tell those people bad news. You want to tell them, hey, look, this is how I've improved from then until now. And that helps you to stay accountable.
I agree.
For sure. And that's also for us, one of the reasons we started was accountability to our subscribers and viewers. So we can relate for sure.
Yeah. So you have lost 85
86.
No, I'm at 80 right now. I'm kind of in a stall, but I
Me
think
too.
I'm breaking through the stall because when I was in the stall, and I don't know if y'all have watched one of my recent videos, but I actually cheated. Okay, so I cheated.
Me too.
You cheated too?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so I cheated and I had cookies from this place called Crumble Cookie, and then I had Taco Bell for supper. And so I didn't cheat the whole weekend. I just cheated that one meal and the
Yeah.
dessert, which I knew I shouldn't have done it.
Mhm.
I could kick myself for doing it. So I'm at 80 pounds because I cheated, and then after I cheated, I that kind of made the stall even worse because where I was kind of stuck in my weight and I was fluctuating like 3 to 4 to 5 pounds, and I just kept going up and down, up and down. Well, when I cheated, that just added more weight on top of it. And it was like more inflammation and stuff. So I actually went up 11 pounds.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
So
So
it's probably mostly water weight then.
Yeah, it was mostly water weight because I started back, and after I started back, I've already lost that 11 pounds. I'm right back to where I was before I cheated. So now I'm working towards, because I cheated at the end of May because my birthday was like May 27th. So it was like 2 or 3 days after my birthday. It was during that birthday weekend I cheated, and so I've started back since then, and I've lost that 11 pounds. And so now I'm trying to get past that stall.
Well, good for you. So what do you do to help yourself get past this stall?
What I chose to do was because I was already doing 2 meals a day, but I'll be honest, there were some days where, because they have breakfast at work, and they'll do them in the oven. They do big racks of bacon, and they do eggs and sausage and stuff. So I would get bacon for breakfast some days, and so that would make a third meal. And so I've decided to stop the third meals for now and just do the 2 meals, which really hasn't even been hard because a lot of times if I'm going to plan to eat at 11 or 11:30 or 12, a lot of times I don't even start feeling hungry till like 10 or 11 anyway. So I've done that, but then also I decided because I was still drinking bubbly, which is like I had already cut out all of the drinks like the Diet Cokes and all that stuff a long time ago. But the drinks that I was still drinking had natural flavors in it. And I was talking to my buddy Sean at Intentional Carnivore, and he was telling me, and he made a good point. And then I did some research on it, and it's actually true that the natural flavors that are in the bubblies and even like LaCroix and things like that can trick your brain into thinking that you're having sugar even when you're not having sugar, which kind of affects your insulin levels. And when it does that, it makes it harder for your body to burn fat, because anytime you're elevating your insulin and all that stuff, like it kind of shuts off fat loss. So now I'm drinking, y'all won't be able to see it probably, but this is like pure LaCroix. So it's basically just sparkling water.
Wow.
And I've been doing that this month, and I mean, it's been working. I've lost that 11 pounds, and now I'm pushing past that. But the other thing was cheese, because I started letting cheese creep back in more. Initially, I was like, when I started Carnivore, I was like, I'm not going to have any cheese at all. The first month, I didn't have any cheese, period. And that was a great month. And then I started like, I'm going to have cheese once a month or something. And then it turned into twice a month. And then it turned into once a week and a couple times a week. And it got to this point where I was like, you need to just stop having cheese. So this month, when I decided to drop the artificial sweeteners altogether, even the natural flavors, I cut out the cheese as well. And I think that is going to help me with the stall.
That's some really good advice.
Yeah, because I know
a lot of stuff I'm not doing.
Yeah,
that I need to do.
I know. Yeah, both of us. So like, my thing is sometimes I'll hit that crash at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I need some caffeine, and I don't have easy sugar-free coffee laying around anywhere. So I end up drinking those Monster Energy that are 0 sugar ones. And that helps me, but I know it's probably not the best thing to do.
Those are the worst.
I know.
They're not as bad as like Coca-Cola, but because they don't have real sugar. But
Yeah.
the what is it, aspartame and all that
Yeah.
stuff is not good for you, and sucralose is not good for you,
Yeah.
and the natural flavors that was in the bubbly even is not good for you. So I mean, you have to pick what you can do for it to be sustainable for you. But like if
Yeah.
you're having stalls or anything, you might want to try cutting those things, because we're trying to get in the most optimal health that we can and not have diabetes and things like that. But those little things, doing those little things, you know, they're spiking your insulin and spiking your insulin, and where you really only want your insulin to go up whenever you're eating a meal.
Yeah.
Because when you're eating a meal, your insulin's going to go up anyway, even if you're not, like if you eat a hot dog or if you eat a burger or whatever you eat, even if it doesn't have sugar in it, your insulin's going to rise. But so you want that to happen the least amount of times in a day as possible. But if you're drinking drinks throughout the day that have that in it, though, that's all you're doing is adding on to more insulin spikes all throughout the day.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
I think I was reading about, because when your insulin spikes, your body goes out of fat burning mode, right?
Exactly. It
And
does.
so, that's why fasting is so important, because it keeps your insulin low. And so when we're doing those 2 meals a day, we have longer time to burn fat. And so I like what you said about the drinks, because sometimes I'll drink a coffee with a little bit of cream in it. And I bet that's contributing to my stall too, because then my insulin spiking just that little bit. When if I would take that out, then I would just have my 2 meals,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're cutting out so much already, sometimes we get to thinking, well, I'm already doing so good. I'm doing so well. And yes, that's true. And we're still headed in the right direction. But when you've cut out all those different things, sometimes it can be just that little thing. That little bitty thing can be making a big impact or whatever. And I learned that when I went on my cruise. When I went on that cruise, like back in April, I ate meat and cheese. And all that cheese on that cruise, even though I walked a lot and everything, because I mean, I burn a lot of calories walking, but all that cheese and even the processed meat, actually, the processed meat and the cheese, I still gained 6 pounds on the cruise.
Okay.
So those things, you might not think they matter, but they actually do matter.
Yeah. Speaking of walking on the cruise, do you do any exercise in addition to your diet, like walking or weightlifting or anything like that?
I haven't been up to this point, which I've had issues with my lower back, and so I haven't actually. I have like spina bifida occulta or something, and so it's caused a little bit of issues with my back. And then I have some muscles in there. They were telling me at physical therapy, they named some quad muscle that was really, really tight and needed to be worked out. And so I have actually been going to physical therapy the last 2 weeks, and they've been helping a lot with that and like working it and stretching it. And then also a couple days ago, I started this stuff called, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I started this stuff called DDPY yoga. And I'm just testing it out to see how it goes, because when I started watching their videos, I liked the fact that it wasn't that typical, like common, like just sitting there in a different position yoga. It was more like a little bit more intense than that. But he had like different levels. Like he even had yoga for like people that are laying in a bed and they can't get out of bed. He had yoga for people in chairs that couldn't hardly stand. And then he had yoga for like beginners that are in decent shape, but they don't know how to do yoga. And then he has like extreme, like crazy stuff. And so right now I'm doing the beginner, and I started that I've done it twice already. And I'm just going to give that like a month or so, or 2 or 3 months, and see how that goes.
Lost 80 pounds so far, and I know you have a lot more. We both have a lot more to lose. What are your top tips or advice for people who have 100 or more pounds to lose?
Honestly, when you have that much weight to lose, like just try your best to stay motivated. For me, staying out of restaurants a lot in the beginning. And staying out of the restaurants as much as you can. And I know you have to go to the grocery store because you need food to eat, but seriously, stay out of the center aisles. Stay on the edges where the meat is, and go to the eggs and get out of the store. Because I mean, because you don't gain that much weight without having some type of issues. Like you need to, you know, and change your environment. I wish I could say, hey, start a YouTube channel, but I know that that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I wish that more people would start one, but I realize it's not for everybody. But even if you don't start a YouTube channel, find YouTube channels like ours or whoever you like and enjoy their content, and keep in touch with them and talk to them and message them, and, you know, go join some of the Facebook groups and talk to other people that can help motivate you, because, you know, and just know that if you do it for a while, it's going to become a habit. Now I don't have to think about it. When I get up, I know what I'm going to eat. I mean, do y'all think about it constantly every day? Like, I don't think about it all the time. I know if I go to a buffet and they have all this different stuff on the menu, I pretty much know without thinking about it, like, I'm not eating that, but I'm going to eat this.
Yep.
You know, it's just, it becomes like second nature to you. So just honestly, if it doesn't matter if you need to lose 200 pounds or 50 pounds, hang in there. Just give it a chance and hang in there, and time will tell. Like, the weight has no choice but to fall off of you if you do this and you stick with it.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Good tips. Definitely good tips.
And so, you started this YouTube channel and you're losing weight. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? What do you think is going to be happening?
I see myself being able to do everything that I missed out on. Like, I want to be able to do things that I could when I was a kid. Like, I want to be able to run and I want to be able to go hike somewhere if I want to, or go get on the rides at like Six Flags or something and not worry about not being able to fit on the ride. I want to be able to, you know, I guess it kind of a little bit be a kid again, because like, I've struggled with weight my whole life. And when I was in kindergarten, second, third, and fourth grade, it didn't affect me that bad, but I was 100 pounds in kindergarten.
Wow.
So I was already overweight, and I was 300 pounds in middle school. But whenever I was like in fourth or fifth grade, I was overweight, but I could still get by and like get on the rides and go do things and jog a little bit. But by the time I hit middle school, all that was gone. And everything like that, the running, the anything, I've missed out on it. There's so many trips I haven't taken because of that, and activities that, like, if I'm at some family event and people are playing on the slip and slide, I'm like, I can't even get up the slip and slide, so there's no way I'm going to even try to get on that. And so there's so much that I missed out on, that's where I see myself being able to do those things. Now, when it comes to the YouTube channel, if the YouTube channel grows, that's great. But if it falls apart, I'll still be fine either way, because I got my family and I've got those that love me, and I've met a lot of great people along the way. But I'm hopeful that over the next 5 years, I can lose this weight on this channel. That way I can show people this weight loss and show people the health benefits, and hopefully I can inspire more people to start this journey.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
You're such a great speaker. I love it. I feel motivated already. Need to go watch more Carnivore Kipp videos. Like in the morning when I feel like cheating, go pull up Carnivore Kipp's video.
Thank you.
That's pretty much all the questions. Was there anything else you wanted to, or any advice or anything else you wanted to say to the audience?
Well, I just wanted to tell the audience to do what your sign says behind you. I want your audience to stay strong, and I want if my audience is watching, I want them to stay strong. And if you haven't tried the carnivore diet, just give it a try for at least a month and see what happens. If you don't like it, you can personally go look up my email and email me and say, hey, I tried it for a month and I hated it. And that's fine. I mean, I'll say, you know, sorry, you know, I wish you the best in whatever you find. And if you find something better, message me and let me know, because I want to know about it. But, you know, I just want people to be inspired and encouraged, and I want them to at least give this a shot, because it might just change their life.
Everyone watching, if you don't know Carnivore Kipp, if you haven't seen his videos, you're missing out. You need to go look him up on YouTube. He'll be linked in the description. Subscribe. He's an awesome dude, and just follow his journey. He's very inspirational. He inspired us, and he's our friend. So we really appreciate if you just went over there and checked them out.